name's Pat Mistretta. I was the director of athletics and a coach, and also involved in the establishment of the sport and exercise study program.
Okay. You came. I know you came here as a part-timer and then as a full-timer.
I did, yes.
Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, I was a teacher and a coach in the public schools at Rockville High, and the community college was trying to get some kind of an athletic program together. So I coached their basketball team, I think, in 1968. We did pretty well, and then they started talking about a part-time athletic director. So they hired me for that. Mm-hmm. I did that for 3 years, and I think in 1972, in May of 1972, they made it the first full-time athletic director. Mm-hmm. So I didn't think I was going to stay that long, but
we all do.
25 years later, I was still there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, I know that the program was sort of fumbling along before you came. I mean, there were some intramural sports and there were some sports.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really loosely organized, yeah. I think is the way you would have to describe it.
What did you do? I mean, obviously you were
it was interesting. We talked about, establishing, as I said, getting the what they had better organized and adding more. And they had all the equipment stuffed in one closet. They wanted a soccer program, and they had no field, which wasn't a problem. I knew we could get a field, but the field we could get didn't have goalposts. Mm. So I don't know if I should be saying that. Anyway, yes. So I go to the dean of administrative affairs, tell him we got the soccer field, we're getting a program. We need goalposts. He proceeds to tell me we're going to need to act to the state legislature in order to get it. So as a result, what I did was I knew people in town. A guy had worked on construction for 4 years, Hunter Construction Company. I talked to him about it. The next day he went over and built the goalposts. So that's how we got soccer program going. And I think as we went along, I saw more and more, there were a lot of needs. The funding wasn't there. But initially what we did is we solidified soccer, basketball, and baseball for men. We established tennis, golf, cross country, also for men. That was the first year. And then we went into establishing women's sports. It was right around the time when Title IX got to be, and we added, right away we put in women's basketball, women's volleyball, women's softball, put in women's soccer later on down the line, and also made our tennis and golf co-educational. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of how the initial establishment of intercollegiate sports. Intramurals, we instituted those right away. They had a couple, but we did 3 or 4 different intramurals. Mm-hmm. So there was something going every season for students. And phys ed, we started some phys ed courses. We put about 6 or 8 physical education, 1-credit courses to have an academic tap. So that was basically what we did initially. And again, I might add that we did this with no facilities at all.
That's what I was going to ask you. So tell me about your office and all the things that you had at that particular time.
Well, me and Andy Paterna shared an office. Mm-hmm. We did that for 3 years, and then the student center burnt down. Mm-hmm. And then after that, they had a trailer, specifically an athletic trailer. And this is the time, too, that I want to call it the new campus, mm-hmm. But for us there was these prefab buildings built down there, and we had a trailer put down among those to be the athletic trailer. It was a great thing. Worked out to be a great thing. Mm-hmm. We had the people that worked there. They were just great. So many good people helped me while I was there.
Well, Pat. I mean, you're being from Manchester. I mean, the one thing that impressed me over the years was your connections and getting people to do things above and beyond the call of duty, which is remarkable. And you have that gift.
You know, it kind of was a gift, but it kind of just grew.
Yeah.
You know, because as things went along, we had these teams going along. Things were going really well as far as community colleges in general were concerned. And then they changed the funding.
Yeah.
Basically, we were funded out of student activities, but it was 30%.
Yeah.
And they made a rule, the board did, and we battled it but didn't win it. It was up to 30%.
Yeah.
Now this gave presidents, administrators to spend that money on other things before they couldn't on sport. And it didn't bother us that much, but it did the other community colleges. We had there were 11 different, 12 colleges at the time. We had about 11 people that carried some kind of sport. That kind of really, it got down to just 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And that made us have to change our program.
Now, were you involved in pulling together a conference, a state conference? With
Yeah,
the
we had
schools?
Connecticut Community
Were
College.
you key to this, or what?
Yeah, I was the president for most
okay.
years. And it was a good thing, but it was going to take a lot of resources.
Yeah.
You know, their philosophy is obviously different than mine. They didn't want to appropriate the resources.
Yeah.
So I could see what was happening. And that's kind of when I got involved in all these community things. Well, one was Christy McCormick and the relays.
Yeah.
That was, something he wanted to do. He was really persistent about it. I was a little, reluctant to do it. Did it, and it was a great thing. And it brought us in, again, thousands of dollars were brought in to, make the program go. It was pretty self-sufficient. We got our name out there. It was name recognition in the community, in the state. I mean, we had people from 49 different states that participated, people from many foreign countries, and it really got to be an annual thing. Yeah. And that was good. And then following that a little further, the other thing that I think happened at that time, we had all this stuff going, the other community, we had to find other areas to play. Yeah. So we joined the NJCAA, and then I knew I had to get something outside of what our annual budget was giving us. I hate to give you all this budget talk, but
no,
this is kind of the way it went.
Yeah.
And so we started this Cougar Club with people I know, people in the community. We initially were on our own, but then we got hooked up with the foundation. After a year or two, because we started to bring in a lot of stuff. We established a lot of stuff. We initially started the wine tasting. That was an athletic event for 3 or 4 years. Added Leslie, she was great.
Peter.
But it was initially athletics. Yeah. I know, like Meduski, I shouldn't say this again, but Meduski likes to say that, he's the big cheese. Yeah. He established it. He didn't. We had it established.
He wasn't there.
Turned into a great thing.
Yeah.
Okay, and we got a good percentage of the money for a while. So that was a big fundraiser. The Cougar Club raised tons of money for us. We did just like we sent out letters. We contacted businesses, and it really, if you add it up after 25 years or so, it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars that came in to support programs. Yeah. And there's double that in in-kind services. So for me, for what I was doing, trying to get done, it was a godsend. I could give you a big long list of local people, whatever it is, that did so much for us. Yeah. And it really, it wasn't me as much as I think the whole, what we were trying to accomplish and the people that we had work. Yeah. The coaches, the secretaries, the people around here were just great to me.
Well,
they loved me,
and
I loved them back.
You had organizational skills, how to mobilize and get people to participate. And even to this date, the people I talked to who were part of that program are absolutely loyal, dedicated. So now let's talk about we'll get to what didn't happen, but let's talk about the soccer field. There were other things that you were managed to pull off.
Yes, we built. That soccer field was in Mount Nebo, but the next year, we built a soccer field. Me and the soccer coach built a field out by where the Regional Occupational Training Center used to be. Is now a school out there. We built the field there. That was the first on-campus facility that we had. And then later on, we built a soccer and softball. Well, the next thing that happened is they had it in the state to build a baseball field and tennis courts. And that was in trouble. And the way I remember it, we went to the hearing, we organized, we brought students, we made things, we made telephone calls. We got that through, which was a big thing because that came out to be 4 tennis courts and a beautiful baseball field that still stands there. And so that happened. So we added that. Then we had a friend, Glenn Construction, Dan Guaglione, was a construction guy. He was a supporter. He was on our board. He said he'd bring his equipment down here and he would level off land near the baseball field and build us a soccer field and a softball field.
Isn't that where all the wood, the lumber was, the trees and the rest were buried underground, or is that the story not true? Underneath the soccer field.
Yeah.
I thought that was landfill filled with...
No, what we did there was we took landfill from another agency and brought it in to fill that thing.
That section.
Yeah, and we also built dugouts on the baseball field, and that was a great thing.
Yeah.
That was a great thing. That's where I really got to know faculty.
Yeah.
Because we were building this by ourselves, and we raised all the money. The expertise, I knew a guy, he was a friend of mine, who was dying of cancer. He had one leg. Harold Jarvis, he was in a construction company, and I was telling him about the problems. He said, I'll come down there and I'll supervise it for you. So what he did was I'd pick him up every morning at 7 o'clock. He'd come out, with crutches, and he'd sit there, and he'd tell us what to do. Yeah. And that's kind of how we built it. Yeah. And then we needed some trenches dug because there was some wiring and stuff. It was going to take a lot of manpower, and so we organized the faculty to come down. Can't tell you, there had to be 30, 40 faculty members that came up there a couple Saturdays in a row. Yeah. And just dig and did hard labor. Yeah.
You had aspirations for a gym, for a pool, and for a couple of other things. Yeah. Comment on that?
Yeah, I see you got a gym now. I think it's a very nice place. Yeah. I think it's basically a high school gymnasium, though. And what I had in mind basically was a real recreational complex that's in use 24/7, a real community resource as well as a something for college teams. Yeah. And because that was, as far as our athletic program, that was the thing really holding us back. Yeah. But that didn't happen. I was on the board when they planned this whole area. They listened to what I had to say, but they pushed it later down the road. Yeah. And I knew it was that was going to be a while. Mm-hmm. And my thoughts were, a big something that I wanted to get, not going to reach to. Yeah. I felt that's kind of how I felt.
Now you also did the workout room.
We did that too. Yeah, we did that. I might add though, on all of these things, we had a little bit of help from the college. We did the bulk work, but when we really got stuck, we went to college, and they were very cooperative. No matter who was whether it was Bill Vincent or Dennison or anybody or Dobby, and they were. And Tom helped us out a lot there. Yeah. And
I didn't think he built the gym for you, by the way, just to accomplish it, even though it wasn't what you wanted.
But anyway, what we did there was they had an old art room that was just sitting there, not being used, and we talked them into. I think the Low building might have been coming along at that time. Yeah. Bob was going to come up here. Bob Manning was going to come up here.
Actually, I think he stayed. Well, I don't remember if he had studios in the Low building. I don't think he did.
Well, he had that room in there where they did work.
Where? They had the gallery. That's about it.
I thought that.
They had the gallery. Yeah,
that was it. I think they
Studio stayed at the East Campus.
Yeah, they stayed down below.
They stayed down below the whole time.
Yeah.
What went on in that building?
The music.
Oh, music department.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
it. You're right.
Yeah.
It was the music department.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we needed something for fitness. We were thinking about establishing sport and exercise studies. We were talking, me and Andy were just beginning to work on that, and we knew that we needed some place, to do some kind of activity. And so we did the whole deal. I got equipment, the initial equipment, which was great. It lasted my whole time there. We got from Aetna. They were getting another center. We went out and scrounged from them, and they gave it to us for just about nothing.
Yeah.
Very cheap. We painted it, raised money for rugs. We sold these $1,000 things to put their name up on a thing. We sold maybe 10 of those, and we built something that for where we were was a good thing to have, and it lasted the test of time.
And you did a heck of you accomplished quite a bit in your tenure. A couple of quick things.
Sure.
Back to the races, which was originally the bicentennial
Yeah.
relays, which
Yeah.
always confused me. But
Yeah. It was MCC. It was on the bicentennial year, 1976.
Yeah.
MCC. That's what we decided to name
Yeah.
it.
But did that change? Over the years, what did it become?
Oh, it changed right away.
Okay.
We established a board the
Yeah.
next year, and now it was permanent. So trying to give it a permanent sense.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that you didn't talk about are the ages that you had and the locations. Not only did you do it here on the campus,
Right.
but you did it down at the high school.
Yeah. Yes.
And you
definitely.
had kids of all ages.
Yeah, we had kids. We had, we had a group for kids. I think we started about 6 or 7 years old, and it went right up. To, obviously high school. We had people, in their 80s compete in the run.
Yeah.
So, and it was, the first year went pretty well, but I was really surprised that the amount of people that came out. I mean, we averaged somewhere between 800 and 1,000 participants every year. And
how many volunteers?
Oh,
A couple of hundred?
a couple hundred, close to a couple hundred.
Yeah.
It was about 160 or so.
Yeah.
And that worked out well. And then the spectators was, initially the first year we might have had 800 or 900 people come out to show up during the day. When we had a high name, like we had Eamon Conklin, who was an Olympian, who still holds, and he set the record right up there at Mistretta High, the mile record for the state of Connecticut at 3 minutes and 3:56 or something. Tremendous record, and he obviously he was an Olympian. We publicized that. We got 2,400 to come out just to watch that, which I thought was good for track and field. It's not a high spectator sport.
Okay, let's talk about people. You mentioned some of them in passing, but can you sort of elaborate on it? The individuals that had an impact on you during your tenure, Andy, obviously.
Andy was just great.
Talk about
Grace Scolo, who was my secretary.
Yeah. George. I understand.
I got to catch myself.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I just got to catch because Grace, I love Grace. And we had a great relationship. She did a great job for me. And she was a student that used the fitness center. The first year it was built. And, we got to talking, and then she started student labor. She graduated, and she came to work for me. And she was great. I had Joanne Shackford before that. She was very good. It's really only two full-time
PR people. Bill, the big guy, I can't remember his name. He was
Bill Till.
The big kid who was.
Oh, Bill Dumas.
Yeah,
Bill Dumas for years. Yes. Bill was really great.
And how about some of the outside community people that helped you out?
Oh, yeah, there's just so many. The Savings Bank of Manchester was always good to me. Bill Johnson when he was there. McGurk at Rockville Savings Bank was there. I told you Glenn Construction, and Saldi right over here. It's just such a host of people. And on the campus, as I said before, people were great to me. They didn't always agree with me. A lot of administrators didn't
Well, you
agree.
and I always had
Right.
that set to. It was going all the time.
Yeah.
Peter against the.
But I think, looking back on it,
Yeah.
I think I got treated pretty well.
Yeah, I do.
To be honest, yeah.
Any interesting anecdotes you could share for posterity, humorous or events that occurred to you,
Humorous events.
or just things that occurred that you'd like to share with?
I'm trying to think here. My memory's not as good as it used to be. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Humorous events, yeah. There are lots of events. I'm trying to think of something that.
Is clean and.
Yeah. We got robbed on our southern trip.
Oh, really?
That's another thing that we did. We started early off.
Yeah.
If we were going to have a positive baseball program, if you wanted to get a certain type of baseball player, you're going to have to southern trip. So we established a southern trip.
Yeah.
On our second or third trip, we stopped in Petersburg, Virginia, and we got robbed. The guys come in at gunpoint, held guns to us, said get on the beds or else we're going to blow your head off. Well, to make a long story short, what they did was they took some cash. I had traveler's checks,
Yeah.
and they got those, and they thought once they had those, they had something, so they left.
Yeah.
So we, in turn, went through the whole process. You had to go to the police department and make a report. So we did, and we were down there at 2:00 in the morning making a report, and there was a newspaper guy there from the the Petersburg, whatever the local paper was there, and he's listening to what went on there, and it was a radio guy. It was not newspaper. It was a radio guy. He goes back on the radio, and he tells us he has a program called Help Your Neighbor.
Yeah.
And we lost $456 in cash. They raised that for us in 5 minutes on the radio.
Yeah.
So when I got back to my hotel, there was the radio guy standing, hey, I just saw you, we hit it on the radio.
Yeah.
Here's $500 for you.
Yeah.
Then, to make that even further on, at the relays the next year, they brought a busload of people up.
From there.
Yeah. So,
That's wonderful.
that's one story that I can think of offhand.
Yeah.
I mean, there were many, many, many more.
Oh, of course.
But,
That's a good story.
Yeah.
If you had any advice to give to an incoming AD coming here to Manchester Community College, what would you tell them?
I don't know. That's a hard.
advice?
But no advice. I don't know. You got a building, but it's not the building; it's the people in it that count.
Yeah.
I think you have a good person in Cindy. The other thing is, I think 18 to 25-year-olds in this community, you guys have done a wonderful job. You do a great service. But and it was when we were there, and I think it still is. There's a little credibility gap when it comes to that age group, and I think a lot of it is because of, the student activity, the athletic program, the socialization programs. I think community college should grab up that mission a little more. I think they're all into the basic thing is job retraining. But there's still a place for it, and I've seen it in other places, out in Arizona,
same thing.
California. They have such great, facilities for other aspects of college life.
Any parting shots you want to make? Anything that you want to mention or bring up that we may have missed?
No, I don't think
Matt,
so.
Did you start the golf? Was that your initiative too, the golf
Yeah,
tournament?
well, no, the golf team.
Tournament?
The golf tournament.
Yeah.
Yes, John. John's another guy I missed. John is great. I mean, was great. Everything. I don't know how many times he came out, what he did. The golf tournament. Yeah, we started a golf tournament, and we ran that for. It was over. I think it was 21 years or so, and that was a big fundraiser for us. And it was a good way to grab in the community.
Let's see. What else? What other fundraising activities did you do besides the wine auction, the tournament?
There was so many other little things, Chuck. All right, this is another one. I'll give you another one. You were talking about humorous activities.
Yeah.
When we first got going, I think it was like our first fundraiser or second. It was right at the beginning. There's Case Mountain here.
Yeah.
We had this idea of we would bring shut-ins from the local nursing homes and go up top of Case Mountain and come back. We did that, and then the next day we charged people to do it. So it was kind of publicized in the paper. Well, we were all set to go. We're going. A friend of mine had given us all the golf carts. We were all set to go, and all of a sudden, the insurance guy goes back and he says, you know what? Yeah. People are really nervous about, taking shut-ins up to the top of the hill. Yeah. Anyway, we did it. It worked out. We didn't, the insurance, I don't even remember if we wound up getting the insurance or not, but it worked out. Good. So that's another example of crazy things.
I'm only going to stop you because we could go on for another hour.
Right.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks.
And
Housatonic just completed one. But so we'll see what her legacy is and how this all turns out for her. I just wanted to mention another thing too. I probably served on every governance committee and contract committee that there is. My favorite one is the promotion committee because you really get to reward your fellow staff and faculty for the good deeds that they have done. So that is something I wanted to mention. I think, let me just refer to my notes because I wanted to talk a little bit about the Women's Caucus because I've been involved with the Women's Caucus since it formed. It really is Mary Ann Handley again. That's why I have such respect for her, who had been here for a while and realized that it was especially the women staff members who were probably not as comfortable in their positions, certainly in their offices as they could be. And she was worried about air quality, sick building syndrome, which don't hear about so much anymore because they really have fixed that problem. The lighting, the seating arrangements, the desk chairs, and things like that. And so she wanted to do something about that. She felt that we needed a daycare center also. And so we started the Women's Caucus, and I've really been involved with it, since its inception, probably in the mid to late 70s. And once we got some of those major issues resolved, which we were able to do, we turned it more into a social organization now. But I just wanted to say never underestimate the power of women at MCC because if we ever need to be an advocate for a cause, I mean, we're there. and strong.
Of the Women's Center?
I wasn't really, no, although that's something that Mary Ann also felt that we needed, and we were able to get well established and actually hire a part-time director to work at the Women's Center, which was wonderful. We don't have that anymore, unfortunately, but the space was needed for some other program. But anyway, but Mary Ann deserves a lot of credit for establishing, that kind of organization, and it's going on today thanks to Bobby Fox. It'll continue to go here at Manchester. It's pretty strong. I do want to say that when you go out into the community and people say, well, where do you work? What do you do? And you tell them you're from Manchester Community College. I've gotten always very positive responses from people saying that they attended here or somebody they knew attended, they had a good experience. And it's so nice to get that positive feedback from people in the community. And people are also, even today, even though we haven't had a new building in, 6 or 7 years, people who have never been to the campus before, they come and they look at our physical plant, and they are very, very impressed with it. Not only with the outside appearance, but you go in and things are clean and, things look nice. And so it's always good to get that kind of positive feedback from people. Let's see. No, I think that's about it. I just wanted to say that this is a, I always admired, and your first question was, one of your first questions was, who do you remember? And they're just a whole wonderful group of talented people who have gone through these doors as faculty members and as staff. And it's been just really great to meet them. And some of the smartest people I've ever met in my entire life still work here. And it's just wonderful. It's been a great experience.